noche es una noche linda, pero aquí se va a efectuar un duelo. Duelo entre dos rumberitos, el de la conga y el timbalero. Un duelo entre dos rumberos, Jícamo y el timbalero. Échale salsa, que échale.
Greetings, fam. Welcome back to the Learning Channel. You feel those rhythms? Yes, that's salsa music. That's that Latino music. That's from Colombia. So I mentioned Colombia because some people spell it wrong. It's Colombia with an O, not U. So I went to South America. I went to Cali and I went to Cartagena. And so I want to share with you the African presence as we normally do. I want to give you some culture, some music, some rhythm, some history. So let's go ahead and explore what we can learn about Colombia. So again, I went to Cali and Cartagena, and it's not Colombia with a U, like Columbia, Maryland, Columbus. No, it's Colombia. So I wanted to make sure we had that correct. So let me go ahead and tell you what I did in Cali first. Yeah, so Cali. They say Cali, with nearly 1 million Afro-descendants, Cali is located in the Valle del Cauca department, considered the blackest city in Colombia, and the second in Latin America, representing 70% of its total population. Now, I didn't really see a lot of black people where I was. Even though I was in the Andes Mountains, I went further up in the hills. But I have much respect for the Colombians and how they stick together, protest, and make sure that their word and voice is being heard, because there's a lot of bad things happening towards the black people there in Colombia. I stayed again up in the Andes Mountains, and look at these leaves, gigantic leaves. I just think about dinosaurs and how this dinosaur food. So back in the day when they had large animals, you could see the foliage was really appropriate for big animals to thrive. And then just think about using those leaves or the vines for houses and being able to use rope from the vines. Just think about the beauty of the environment. So that's what I enjoyed while I was there in the countryside. And then there in the city, there's this very interesting statue, and it's like an African or brother with his hands up with a torch, and like some military people below that. But I just thought it was an interesting figurine on a statue in Cali. Now, the black presence and the resistance of African people there. So I didn't go to Puerto de Buenaventura, but it's a coastal seaport city located in the Pacific region of the department of Valle del Cauca. So it's about a 2-hour ride by taxi from where I was in Cali. So the main port of Colombia in the Pacific Ocean. Man, these folks shut the city down at one point a few years ago because they were not being treated right. You can look at this article here on Fighting for Black Lives in Colombia, the violent push out of blacks in Buenaventura. This is from the Root magazine. So I could show it to you, but I want you to go read it on your own. It's from the Root magazine. I won't worry about clicking that here, but I want you to understand that when companies privatize facilities, that means certain people are controlling it and making money off of it. If it's not nationalized for the people, that means the people get exploited. So the ports there are privatized, so they can tell those people what to do, and they don't have any rights. So guess what? They shut down the city. So they closed it down so that what? Nothing's coming into the country. They stuck together. So Buenaventura is in the Pacific Coast region of black ancestral territory. So even though you have a lot of black people on the lands, they're not really controlling some of the land, because you have these, from miners to deforesters, people trying to control for industrial development, coming in and getting rid of the black people. So some small black communities still inhabit small traditional wooden homes built on stilts over the water's edges. Just kind of rough living. Think about Louisiana and some of those bayou countries, bayou facilities, bayou places, living there by the swamp. But industrial development projects are expanding, which means that people are being forced out, and this is dead or alive. It's paramilitary groups coming in, slashing and dashing, killing the people so that the industries can flourish. It's just a bad situation. You have the drug community that can be involved in decimating communities. So Black presence has always been there, and they're now under attack. We have to understand that we have to stick together. And this is interesting here. I found this geopolitical connection. So Aurora Vergara is a sociology professor and director of the Afro-Diasporic Studies Center at ICC University in Cali. She was a co-organizer of Grief as Resistance, Racialized State Violence and the Politics of Black Motherhood in the Americas, a conference held at the University of Chicago several years ago, back in May. Geneva Reed Veal, the mother of Sandra Bland, look at that, was among the speakers. You know Sandra Bland, the sister, was accosted by the white cop in Texas. So she was smoking in the car. He told her to stop smoking. And she's like, I'm in my car. Let me stop smoking. I had her get out the car and basically harassed her, put her in jail, and then they say she committed suicide. That's Sandra Bland. So her mother was there. Women from organizations in Brazil, Colombia, as well as other African Americans who have lost a loved one to police violence were there. So whatever's going on in these other countries, the same thing happened to African people living in America, North America, South America. It's happening all over. So how do we deal with this? Got to stick together. There's some people calling it genocide. All the academics were making the argument that we have to be really careful about using this word. Vergara says, quote, and the women from the grassroots organizations, they were saying, I really do not care about what you academics are saying. What I'm seeing on the streets of Cali, what I'm seeing in Bojoya, a Black Colombian village where a massacre occurred in a church. Think about that. And that white boy, I think Dylan Rudolph, down there in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, went in church and shot up Black people in their own church. This is happening everywhere. What I am seeing in the streets of Chicago, New York, Texas, what I'm seeing in Bahia, in Rio, and Sao Paulo is systematically killing Afro-descendant young men. We don't know their story. They don't know our story. We need to put the stories together so we have some strength to work together. So I'm so proud of the people there in Buenaventura for shutting down the ports and trying to get some, rights in their way, better wages, better living conditions. And so they were shutting down the oligarchs. When I say the oligarchs, we're speaking about like in Americas, North America, people like the Koch brothers and these industries that are controlling and running things and not worried about the people. There's a documentary called The Corporation. You need to check that out because I know there's a storyline, I think, in Chile somewhere. There was, in South America, some industry wanted to take over the water supply and then make the people pay for the water that they did not have to pay for before, and the people shut it down. So all over the world, people are striking and protesting, and that needs to happen in North America under the Agent Orange administration because people are losing their jobs over someone who's not even elected. That is the guy named Elon Musk. Changing from Cali, we also went to Cartagena, Colombia. This is a church environment we went to, and there's a picture of mural of brothers holding up their hands. These were Africans who were remembering their customs and practicing what they learned there on the continent, their homeland. Could have been Ifa, could have been some type of traditional religious ceremony, but they were honoring the goat. So those who know anything about the traditional African ceremonies that use the goat, they were carrying that tradition on when they were brought to the Americas. And as they were brought to the Americas, as the conquistadors were pushing Christianity, I just found this interesting. I was walking on the street, saw this image of the Christ, this Christ image that was on the truck. Hey, that's what they're pushing. I went to a Black community called Palenque, and they still got the white image in the church. I've been to Ghana, on the vans in Ghana. Some of the vans got the white Jesus on the van. So that mental slavery has impacted us in many ways. So the remnants of mental slavery are extended today, but it was pushed a long time ago. You see this statue of a priest more than likely a Spanish conquistador, missionary. But you see the unclothed African that he's talking to, trying to instruct, indoctrinate. In the museum we went to, you see San Pedro Claver. It talks about this again, trying to help out the natives. So not even natives, the prisoners, the captives, the Africans. But here you have a clothed missionary, but you have an unclothed so-called what? African, heathen. Like they don't know how to have civilization and culture. They had it before they got here to the Americas, but this whole mental slavery is to continue to control them. Simón Bolivar. Anybody know about him? A lot of the countries there in Latin America obtained their independence from the Spanish because of Simón Bolivar. The story, though, is that he got some assistance and help from the Haitians after they got their independence in 1804. So during the time period of Haitians fighting for their independence, and they're saying to anybody in the world, if you want to seek freedom, independence, come here to Haiti. We're here to help you. So Bolivar went on down there, got some training and assistance, and was even helped out to be able to stay there for a little while. I think way past the time that Toussaint Louverture was gone and deceased. But Bolivar did not treat his African brothers in Haiti respectfully to continue the fight. They were left by themselves, hanging against the European powers. So again, Africa for the Africans. We can't wait on anybody else to save us. This was the Saint Felipe Castle, and it's like a large edifice that was built there on the port, or the seaside there, as a way to kind of control the flow of Africans, or that I call it the black gold. Those African people. It wasn't so much the material, silver, gold. It was the black people. They had these contracts called the Asiento contracts, where the people there in Cartagena set it up where others from Dutch to English to whoever was trafficking African people, they could come there and buy them. Or the Asiento contracts. This is going deep down into the castle, and there's a door there showing you going down into the castle. So it's a large edifice built by African people for their own, I guess you could say, destruction. I look at this door right here. This looks like the door of no return there in Africa. After you leave and you cross that threshold, you then don't return to Africa. So you just go to Elmina, Cape Coast, Senegal, Gorée Island. They have these doors of no return. That's the big castle on the outside, built by African people. Gigantic castles, San Felipe. So you see the city behind there, but there's ocean there. So this was constructed to repel anyone coming in trying to take over the city. How were they protecting that black gold? With cannons. So these cannons are all over the castle, outdoor towards the sea, attacking ships coming in because everybody's fighting over those Africans, that black gold. So this is interesting to me because in Africa, like in Benin, Benin, those Africans were trying to make negotiations. They didn't know what was going to happen to their black people being taken as they were being extracted from Africa. They didn't know what the white man had for them when they crossed those seas or where they went. But they're like, look, we're doing this for you. Give us those cannons. The white man said, no, we can't give you no cannons. What do you mean can't give us cannons? We're not getting any more African captives in. So white man, no, you don't give the enemy any weapons because they'll shoot back. But these cannons, gigantic, and they didn't have any cannonballs here. When you go to Africa, you see cannonballs that are right there by the cannons. You can't even pick those things up. So you can see how they can do damage to a ship. But they weren't letting Africans get those cannons. Here is a courtyard, and this is just like what we saw there in Peru. Now, this is all coming from Spanish culture, but coming really from Moorish culture that was in Spain and Portugal that was then taken to other countries. So this is Colombia, but the same things in Peru, but they're all Spanish people using Moorish or Black people's designs. So when you see these arts, this is what you see there in Andalusia, when the Moors, the Black people were running Portugal and the Spanish area. These constructions in this courtyard area and the bath in the middle, this is all focused on Moorish architecture. But you wouldn't know that Black people had influence on this. We visited Palenque, one of the so-called the first independent state of Black people after that horrific Holocaust or a Ma'afa, the enslavement of African people. So Palenque, these people, like Maroons, went up into the hills and established their own society in 1612. So we went to visit Palenque. This is the leader of Palenque, and they have a little statue, and also the flag is focused on his power freedom move. So we spent some time in Palenque. A group of students and my chaperones, we went and visited, and you see the artwork is just representing who they are, being Black. B-L-A-C-K, being Black. Black Lives Matter. The same things we're struggling with over here, they're struggling with over there. We have to work it out together so we can build on things. And right now, if we don't look at this geopolitical connection, then we don't have any opportunities to work together. So Black Lives Matter all over the world. I went to see a medicine man. We visited a medicine man with his concoctions, and out in front of the facility where he does his work is a picture of someone looked just like Dr. Sebi. I asked him in English, was that Dr. Sebi? And he said, yeah. So I'm sure he was correct. It says Percy T. Williams up there. Has another name on the bottom, I guess, the drawing. So I don't know if that's just for the artist, but that looks just like Dr. Sebi from Honduras, a medicine man. He's no longer here with us, but this brother is carrying on the tradition. So, interestingly, at nighttime when I was in Colombia, the lights went out in the city. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, so people really didn't know I was up, and I saw all these lights went out. I see a few places where the lights are lit up, but just think about the power resources that are limited in some countries and some places, and they're going to have no access to electricity. As the air conditioners run all the time because it's too hot, you're going to have shutdowns in electricity. So this could happen in any part of the world, but as I was staying up in the heights of the hotel where I was, it was just interesting to see the change that happens if power goes out. So we enjoy some nightlife. I'm going to leave you here with my some rhythms. We went to Cafe Havana there in Cartagena, kind of focused on like the Havana, meaning Cuba. But I'm going to leave you to some rhythms so you can enjoy this experience, and hopefully you'll be able to go at some point to see how they flow in places like Cali and Cartagena. Now, hear them rhythms, African rhythms, in a whole other country. Look, check this out. Now, I'll conclude on this one, but just the way that we flow in any culture. You can go to Cuba, go to Brazil, go to any of the islands, Dominican Republic. Here you have Colombia, and this is what we do. So as we conclude this Learning Channel presentation, go with the flow and see how you like the okay. Listen to the rhythms here again, because we're talking about how we flow and how we move, no matter where you're at. Brazil, Dominican Republic, Colombia, where our flow is moving and changing the world.